What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What's up? What is going on? What is going on, YouTube and the internet? Welcome to another riveting episode of the Consciouztv. Okay, it is your favorite breakdown commentator, Consciouztv, child. And of course, we got some breaking news, bitch. It's a lot going on in the world, but finally, we get some good goddamn news. Okay, we're gonna get into Mr. R. Kelly, who is facing life in goddamn prison and found guilty on all charges, including racketeering. Okay, we're gonna get into what the hell that means and where the hell this is all going. And before we do that, make sure that you give me a old nasty piece of thumbs up if you're in the building. It don't cost you nothing. Okay, thumbs up being the video helps with the algorithm and helps YouTube to recommend the content and the channel to all of the YouTube foreigners and visitors from all across the internet spaces. Okay, and we also don't mind any free full promotion, so you can also copy and paste this damn link to Plenty of Fish, Pornhub, Big Bitches Need Love Too, Christian Mingle, Jack, BGC, Adam for Adam, Snapchat, Facebook, MySpace, Your Space, Our Space. I don't really give a damn, okay? Because everything that makes dollars makes sense, okay? Now I'm going to go ahead and play our intro while you guys are doing that. I'm going to prepare these notes, and then we're going to get into tonight's commentary. And if it's not too long, I may even drop the link. I'm curious to know what you guys think about what's going on with R. Kelly, and do you feel that this is indeed justice? Okay, we're going to get into it. We'll be right back.
I know a place where you can recharge your soul.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
And in the midst of brokenness, he gon' see your asshole.
Baby, that's Consciouztv.
You gon' heal, you gon' laugh and catch a little shade.
Ooh, girl.
Y'all know he be slaying, y'all better stop playing. Come hear what he's saying.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So let me speak to everybody in the chat before we get started. What's going on, mods? I see you guys in the chat. What's going on, Celeste? What's going on, Vessie? Hey, Brown. What's going on, Raven? Hi, Auntie Trisha. What's going on, Minnie Mama? Hey, Just Be Real. Hey, Deshonda Mom. Goody. What's going on, Baby Mother? Hey, Felice. What's going on, Miss V. Leroy? What's going on, Cha-Cha with you? Classy, lovely day one. Happy Monday, child. I just got back from the tattoo shop. I had a 6-hour session to finish my damn Jesus piece. I'm so over it. But of course, I had to come here and talk with you guys about the shenanigans of it all, okay? And I see my boy Leroy. What's going on, Blessed, Booked, and Busy is in the building. And Leroy says, what's up, bro? Hope all is well with you. I know he guilty, but I'm still going to play I Believe I Can Fly. You know what? I ain't going to get into that whole conversation about whether people should throw these trash-ass human beings, okay, along with their art down the damn toilet. I'm going to even have to find me a new goddamn intro song because I ain't feeling Miss Minaj right now. You know, I understand the whole separate the artist from the person. Okay, I do understand that these things can be distinct, right? Like the architect of the Bank of America building can be a goddamn pervert, okay? Two things can be true all at once. You probably gonna still go into the goddamn building and utilize his services, may even work in the damn building, even if you know that the damn building was constructed by a whole homicidal maniac, okay? So I do get it. But you know what's interesting about music is that music happens to be very personable and sentimental, and it's hard to disconnect the fucking artist from the music, especially when the goddamn, not the artist from the music, but to separate the human from the artist, the man and the woman from the music, because some of these goddamn crimes and some of these goddamn sins and transgressions are so damn demonic and nefarious that I can't help but to hear a title like I Believe I Can Fly and just only think to myself that I believe that R. Kelly should fly right into the bowels of hell. You see how that works? You know, I can't help but think about stepping in the name of love. And then think that R. Kelly need to step right in the middle of 5 o'clock traffic, you know? Like, his transgressions just make me remix all of his damn music and things. So, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it, okay? But I understand and I get it. What's going on, Phyllis? Hey, babe. I don't know how to pronounce your Maldives. What's going on, Maldives? Hey, Brenda. What's going on, Tiptoe Through Turnips? Hey, Ellie. So I can't do it. You know what I'm saying? I ain't mature enough yet. And you know what? I don't want to separate the damn human beings from the artist, you know, especially when some of these things involve directly hurting other human beings. I'm not going to celebrate a person. I don't give a damn what the accolades are when the things that R. Kelly did with his album sales, the money that he made from concerts, the money that he made from touring and writing and producing, he used that money to coerce young Black women, allegedly, to assert power and control over young Black women, allegedly. And that's just trash. That's trash. That's just goddamn trash. So we got to get into it, y'all. Okay? What's going on? Lady Butterfly. Hey, Crystal. And you know, I'm already getting cash apps. I'm definitely going to shout out my cash appers at the end of the show. Thank you all so much. God bless, and give me a thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up if you're in the building. So you guys already know who the hell we're here to talk about. I'm going to pull up 2 articles, one from CNN, because CNN really breaks down what's happening around racketeering, etc. So with no further ado, let me pull up R. Kelly's best selfie, and let's get into it. Here's R. Kelly, okay? After court today. This is R. Kelly after court today, y'all. Okay, I took this myself. Yes. I was right there front row. What's going on, Benita? Now, let's talk about R. Kelly and these charges, girl. So CNN reports that 2 hours and 16 minutes ago, R. Kelly was convicted of racketeering. Here's what that means, okay? My computer gonna act crazy as hell because I'm sharing a damn screen. I cannot stand it. Can't stand it. Hold on, give me a minute, you guys. I should have restarted my laptop, but I did not. Let me just go ahead and refresh this whole page, girls. Too much going on in the world, girl. We got to get into Miss Kelly Price as well, okay? Because the price of finding her ass costed American taxpayers about $1.10 trillion damn dollars just for her big ass to be home eating on a goddamn Baconator and drinking a goddamn diet water. So we're gonna have to get into Miss Kelly ass as you know what? It's something in the air, bitch. All these Kellys. What the fuck wrong with these Kellys, y'all? R. Kelly, Kelly Price, well, who next? Kelly Rowland, bitch? Kelly Clarkson, ho? Like, what's the next big scandal, bitch? Like, Satan is on these damn Kellys, girl. If you got a Kelly in your life, you need to tell them that they need to be quarantining right now, baby, because the devil is after these goddamn Kellys, baby, okay? They need to have their ass in the front pew of this coming Sunday service, okay? Because the devil is wearing out these mother-loving Kellys, honey. I don't know what the hell is going on, baby. If you giving birth and you just put Kelly in your baby's name, rebuke it, bind it, and reject it, and figure something out. Maybe Sharon and Ashley, but we just gonna put the name Kelly on the sick and shut in list right now, okay? We need to figure out what the hell is going on with the goddamn Kellys, okay? Because something is going on, okay? Now let's read this Article from CNN. So R. Kelly was convicted of racketeering, and here's what that means. Jurors have found R&B singer R. Kelly guilty of racketeering, including acts of bribery and sexual exploitation of a child, along with separate charges of sex trafficking. Racketeering became a federal crime in 1970 under the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organizations Act, and the charge is best known as a tool to prosecute organized crime that affects interstate commerce. At the center of racketeering case is the enterprise, the group entity carrying out the illegal conduct such as the mafia. In this case, the enterprise is Kelly and his entire entourage, as well as his managers, bodyguards, drivers, personal assistants, and runners. According to the superseding indictment, Kelly is described as the leader of the enterprise. My goodness, okay? Now, Kelly's defense attorney has criticized this aspect of the case against his client. Quote, "We look forward to the truth and the facts coming to light as the defense will continue to vigorously defend Mr. Kelly," defense attorney Thomas Frenella said in a statement to CNN before the trial. After all, the RICO enterprise is based on a series of independent relationships and events that the government is trying to patch together like different types of fabric and trying to pass it off as silk. My goodness. Kelly was charged with racketeering that has 14 underlying acts. One of bribery, 3 acts of sexual exploitation of a child, 1 act of kidnapping, 3 acts of forced labor, and 6 acts of violating the Mann Act. The alleged crimes stretch from 1994 up to December 2018 and are based on incidents involving 6 anonymous Jane Does, several of whom were underage. To convict him of racketeering, prosecutors have to prove that Kelly committed at least 2 of these 14 underlying acts. Jurors found prosecutors had proven all but 2 of the 14. Woo, baby. So that means that Kelly ass is hanging on by a goddamn thin thread right now, okay? Edgeless, baby. Ain't got nothing but 2 baby hairs saving the whole front part of the hairline, baby. Now, how racketeering benefits prosecutors. CNN legal analyst Ellie Honig said it allowed them to charge a broader pattern of conduct that stretches over years and involves many participants. In addition, a racketeering case combines multiple victims' stories in one trial, which can create a Me Too-like dynamic. The trials of Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein, though not racketeering, showed that having more witnesses testify about a pattern of alleged sexual misconduct can have a powerful impact on a jury. Maria Penza, a former federal prosecutor who led the racketeering case against the cult group Nixim, said the racketeering charge makes this trial very different from Kelly's previous one. Quote, "Having the RICO racketeering charge in particular allows prosecutors to really give the aerial view over a long period of time at a very high level of who R. Kelly and his enterprise are, and the types of crimes that they've been committing and the ways in which they've committed those crimes. That's a very different case," Penza said. Quote, "You have a lot more evidence that is going to come in and be able to corroborate what the victims are saying." Okay. Attorneys for victims say that R. Kelly is the worst predator she has ever prosecuted, okay? Attorney Gloria Alfred, who represented 3 of the 6 victims who testified in the case, said R. Kelly is the worst predator she's ever pursued. "I have been practicing law for 47 years. During this time, I have pursued many sexual predators who have committed crimes against women and children. Of all the predators that I have pursued, however, Mr. Kelly is the worst for many reasons," she told reporters. First, he used the power of his celebrity to recruit vulnerable underage girls for the purpose of sexually abusing them. These were not May-October relationships, which is what his defense attorney wanted the jury to believe. These were crimes against children and adults, Alfred said. Second, to the use of his business enterprise and many of his inner circle employees to assist him and enable him in his plan and his scheme to lure his victims to him, isolate them, intimidate them, control them, indoctrinate them, punish them, shame them, and humiliate them. all of which made Mr. Kelly more powerful and more dangerous than many other sexual predators who operate without a network of financial and businesses to support and enable them, Alfred said. She said another reason was that the government proved Kelly had genital herpes and did not disclose that information to victims or wear contraception to protect them. Woo chow! And I quote, as a result, many of his victims contracted this STD from him and will be forced to suffer from it for the rest of their lives, Alred said. The fourth reason, Alred said, was in many cases, after grooming, isolating, and intimidating his child victims, recorded them being sexually abused and humiliated by them. He directed these videos and produced them not only for his own sexual gratification, but in some instances for the purpose of using these videos to silence and threaten his victims with public exposure of these tapes if they ever revealed what he had done to them. These tapes were not sex tapes. They were child pornography, which is a crime, she said. Alred said she was proud of her victims who spoke up and told their truth during the trial. And I quote, R. Kelly thought that he could get away with all of this, but he didn't, because despite the fact that he thought he could control all of his victims, he was wrong, Alred said. Because of their courage and outstanding work of federal agents and prosecutors in this case, justice has been done, Alred added. Let it be a message to other celebrities who use their fame to prey on their fans and others who are unfortunate enough to come into contact with them. You're also likely to face serious consequences for your criminal conduct. Okay? Let's scroll down, baby. It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. It's a lot going on. Okay? Advocates say R. Kelly conviction brings justice for victims. Some advocates and organizations are reacting to the conviction of R. Kelly's on charges of racketeering and sex trafficking. The group Mute Kelly said it hopes that the verdict helps some of the survivors. The group's goal is to end the financial support of R. Kelly's career and help pave the way for his conviction and sexual abuse against young women. So for those out there who already have R. Kelly music, please don't purchase anymore, okay? Because all of that coin goes into R. Kelly attempting to roll up out of prison just like Bill Cosby did, even though we know that Bill Cosby got off on a technicality because he took a plea deal, which means that he was never supposed to see the light of day of prison to begin with. But nonetheless, R. Kelly is not trying to be dropping the goddamn soap, okay, and getting raw dogged in his goddamn booty hole for the next 100 years of his black ass melanated life. So every little bit of coin that he continues to make off of streaming sales, memorabilia, merchandise, etc., I just want you guys to know who plan on continuing to be a fan, if that's even possible, okay, that what you got, you know, it is what it is. But purchasing anything more, you're literally going to be funding this man attempting to not be held accountable for his bullshiggity. As a FYI, okay? Miss CNN article is giving me some fever right now, so I don't think I'm going to continue on with this article, but that is the gist of it, okay? So lots of people are feeling really good about this. Okay. Lots of advocate, the survivors. This case is really grotesque and absolutely disgusting. Okay. The things that came out during this trial were absolutely horrific and just mind-blowing to the point that, I mean, it was almost too horrific to even be believed in. Like the things that he had these young women and in some instances young men do were just beyond human comprehension. Everything from making girls smear their own feces over themselves as punishment for being rebellious or difficult, just disgusting, pissing and peeing on these young people. You know, the list goes on and on and on. There was literally like something out of a fucking freak ass circus that was coming out every other day on trial. R. Kelly absolutely deserves this. Hey, Major Media Production, what's going on, love? This has been a long time coming. This also should not just be isolated to R. Kelly. What I would love the Black community to do, especially for those who are saying that his entire entourage also need to be charged and sentenced, and I completely agree that everybody in this enterprise, as the article stated, need to be held accountable. But, you know, to everybody who is with all of that, we need to be also with doing the same thing in our families, okay? Because most Black families have open child abusers. I'm going to use that word, okay? For algorithm's sake. Most Black families are harboring open child abusers, okay? So we're not going to act like R. Kelly, that we should just give R. Kelly all this heat himself. We need to be bringing to justice the goddamn R. Kellys that we call uncles, the R. Kellys that we call stepbrothers, the R. Kellys that we call fathers, the R. Kellys that we call stepfathers, the goddamn R. Kellys who we call goddamn aunties, okay? Sisters, brothers, whom the hell ever, okay? Because this behavior and exploitation and abuse goes on every motherfucking day. Every day. What's going on, Rita? What's going on, love? They sure do need to be charged because they played a very big part of it. Managers, tour managers, accountants, guitarists. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And obviously, with this man being illiterate, he obviously could not conspire alone, even if he tried, even if they tried to act like he could, because he can't even read his own. He can't even read shit. So how would he been able to book and direct and get these houses and get these lands and get these studios, being a illiterate man? So of course there had to be a whole system, a whole entourage behind this man. And this is some deep shit. I'm sure that these niggas were shook when Surviving R. Kelly came out a few years ago, honey. Okay? But I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. I bet you when they attempt to go after the entourage, because that's what they're trying to do, the entourage honestly probably is going to walk away scot-free, because they're probably going to take a plea deal. And the plea deal is going to involve an old nasty, brutally honest, grueling, nuanced deposition, a honest testimony of the ins and the outs of how they did all this in exchange for their freedom. Because that's what happened in Bill Cosby's case. Bill Cosby gave an old nasty piece, a deposition, an old grueling, brutally honest ass testimony to how he drugged women, took advantage of their asses while they were on Quaaludes, drugged these women unbeknownst to them, etc. And it was in exchange for his freedom. That's why he was able to only do what, 2-3 years? And ultimately get out when he was never supposed to be in to begin with. He got off on a goddamn technicality. Tanya says, when I was a CPS investigator, I had an investigation where 3 convicted sex offenders lived in one home. Children were in that home. The state is trash. You have plenty of sex offenders who live right across from schools. Right across from schools. High schools, middle schools, right next to daycares. I mean, these people register, but that seems to be about as much of an eye that the state literally puts on sex offenders. That's basically about it. And I had watched, what was it? Do y'all remember the Netflix documentary about the young Mexican kid named Gabriel? He was tortured and murdered by his mom and his stepfather. And CPS were all up and involved, all up and through that case, and it made no goddamn difference. They never extrapolated this boy from the home. They did not intervene prior to the brutal beating that led to his death at the hands of his stepfather. And when they gave some of the CPS investigators the mic to speak their side of the story, the CPS investigators stated that practically they're understaffed, and that's damn near nationwide. That one CPS investigator can have up to 40 children, y'all. One CPS investigator can have 40 households under their belt. One agency can house up to 300 cases. Understaffed, underpaid. There's no way in the hell even CPS could do their job effectively. It's not even humanly possible because there's not enough people going into the field. There's not enough people. I mean, so we have the whole system is fucked up. I'm gonna have to log out. This is making me angry. It's fucked up, Tiptoe. There's a lot of moving parts that leave children completely exposed, that leave children completely at the mercy of the R. Kellys and Harvey and Jeffrey Epsteins and Weinsteins of the motherfucking world. And in order to correct this, we're going to have to start from the Rudy. From the Rudy to the goddamn Tootie, okay? Instead of telling some of our young people to go and be models and basketball players and doctors and scientists, we also need plenty of their asses to go into social work, because there's a big gaping hole. Hey, Treader University, there's a big gaping hole. CPS just can't do their job. And then you couple the fact that a single agency can be responsible for more than 300 households while only having a staff of 26 people, leaving each CPS investigator with up to 30 to 40 children they're responsible for as one human being. That's not even accounting for all the people who then turn around and make an understaffed, overworked system like CPS even more handicapped by making false reports. So when people out here abusing CPS out of being petty, out of being stupid, out of being just completely absurd, okay? Out of being in a fight with another adult person utilizing CPS services, you're literally taking the little bit of attention and a little bit of help and the little bit of resources that CPS already have to give toward genuine cases and taking up that space with your fake bullshit. Yeah, the turnover rate is high as hell. Most CPS investigators are quitting social work the first 2-3 years. What Tanya is saying, I hear that on average. I stayed for about 4.5 years, then went back to education. Yeah, absolutely. This is insane. So, how many of y'all feel that R. Kelly should get the goddamn death sentence? Do y'all feel that R. Kelly should spend the rest of his natural born life in prison as a celebrity? Because you guys know that celebrity prison is very different for broke nigga prison. Because we found out that Bill Cosby was having a good old time in prison, honey. You know, he was a fave. You know, he was mentoring the guys, honey. He was cracking the jokes. Oh, they love Bill Cosby. Now, R. Kelly might be a little different because he's a child predator, and we know that they literally get off into the ass of these type of criminals and wrongdoers. No. He should get the maximum no matter what. He's a celebrity. He won't have that money long. Nah, because allegedly he's already broke as fuck. Okay. The coin is already drying the hell up. Susan says he should not. Gina says, I do. Gina absolutely feels that R. Kelly need to hit the motherfucking electric chair. That R. Kelly need to hit the goddamn what they call that fatal dose of a lethal injection. 20 years at a minimum. He got 2 or 3 more trials to go. I need him to go through those and name the other celebrities doing this. You know, they was trying to get Jeffrey to cough up all of the politicians, celebrities, world leaders, etc., who have been connected to him. Everybody from Donald Trump to Bill Clinton to Chris Tucker, Naomi Campbell. He had an interesting circle, honey. And apparently the little girlfriend of his, you know, I'm not sure where the case stands now, but apparently she's holding all of the town secrets. And maybe what'll happen is if R. Kelly is a part of a bigger triangle, if he's a part of a bigger sex trafficking ring, he might not even live through this the same way that Jeffrey didn't. Jeffrey, quote unquote, committed suicide under mysterious circumstances. Even though the coroner came and said that there is no way that he could have hung himself. Based upon the bunker in the room, the height of the bunker, and the way that his injuries manifested. That it is not consistent with someone who hung themselves. And I wouldn't be surprised either, you guys, if Mr. Kelly, if he's connected to other powerful people and he holding other motherfuckers' secrets, he might not even live to tell about it. What's going on, Yaya? I don't believe in the death sentence. These are federal charges, federal prison resort. They say snitches get stitches and be in ditches. Not Prince Harry. It was Uncle Prince Andrew. Ray says the only was R. Kelly is getting out of jail is in a wooden box when the legal system gets to. Oh yeah, I mean they are putting his ass through the spin and the wash, baby. There's going to be nothing left. His ass to be iron starched, okay, when they're all said and done with his ass. And R. Kelly is so fucking emotional. He's in so much distress that they probably have his ass on suicide watch right now. R. Kelly tried to petition Trump to release him. R. Kelly been trying to get his ass up out of prison by any means necessary, honey. They better check the goddamn room and look behind the goddamn toilet, pick that motherfucker up and see if he been digging a goddamn tunnel through that motherfucker like Shawshank Redemption and shit. Because if somebody don't touch R. Kelly might touch his damn self. I don't think that he has the capacity to accept that sentence. I don't think he will hold up emotionally, knowing that he'll never see the outside world again. I don't. They're going to get them nothing left when they get done with him. Benita says he needs to be punished, but he also knows how to dismantle that system. If he about to get hundreds of years after 3 trials, then I'm fine with him getting 40 years in return for spilling the details. 40 years, he'll be how old? What? Bill Cosby's age? He'll be decrepit, slow, erectile dysfunction. I can see that. Spill the rest of the tea. We'll let your ass see the light of day when you old as fuck, senile, going through dementia and can barely function, okay? And we can just sit your ass out on the front porch. I can see that. Because it's more R. Kelly's. And it ain't just the music industry. Y'all been hearing about all these goddamn politicians, okay? Who they done found child pornography on the laptops of. All these motherfucking politicians, religious leaders, okay? Pastors, priests, etc. Who with the ish? Brown Sugar says, do y'all think his ex-wife Andrea knew anything about what he was doing? I don't know, Brown. That's been the age-old question, is how much did Andrea know? We know that she played the victim. We know that she was also caping for her ex-husband. She, you know, all of the mixed signaling did not do her reputation any justice whatsoever. And people absolutely believe that Andrea not only knew about what was going on, they believe that she allegedly was helping to recruit and even was a part of some of the sexual abuse itself. Now, I haven't heard from any of the witnesses that Andrea was that involved. I don't believe that her name has really come up in this trial. Has any of you, do any of you guys know? Has her name came up in any of these trials? Have any of the girls or even the young man spoke about Andrea's involvement? Because, you know, a part of me, what I want to believe is that Andrea was naive, gullible, and she was controlled by Kelly as well. And if she also was controlled like she claimed she was, if she was also kept up in rooms, if she wasn't allowed to speak to people, if she wasn't allowed to meddle in his business, then I can believe that she did not know exactly what was going on either, because he wasn't allowing too many people close enough to know what the tea is. You know, it wasn't like she had a happy marriage. It wasn't like she was spinning around, you know, having a normal wife to husband experience. You know, she was being kept up in fucking rooms and locked up as well. You know, just like his victims were. Ellie says, safe to say R. Kelly's contract with the devil was not renewed on period, honey. Tanya Banks says they need to get everyone involved. And they probably will, but like I said earlier, that's probably, they probably gonna run it completely down on Kelly. What they're gonna use our entourage to do is to tell everything else in exchange for their freedom. So I believe that they will come after them, but I don't believe that any of those people are going to serve time. They're going to offer them a plea deal. Tell us everything you fucking know. Everything from the ins and outs. Everything starting from Aaliyah on up. Okay? How, when, who. tell us every motherfucking celebrity, every motherfucking person who came to the house, they gonna get the entourage to do it. They ain't gonna let up on R. Kelly ass. The crimes are too gross. They're too gross. Nobody wants to show him any lick of mercy, even for the sake of bringing the whole goddamn pyramid down, because he was just god fucking awful. God awful in this whole thing. But I do believe they're going to utilize and get that goddamn entourage to do all the truth and daring up in that bitch. Ray says, from what I understand, Andrea was abused severely by R. Kelly as well. Yes, that's what I understand as well. 2 girls said that she wasn't allowed to interact with them or come to where they were in the house. So I believe Andrea. Andrea is a weirdo, yes. Andrea came off weird because she was stuck between a rock and a hard place. She was stuck between, this nigga is a monster, he's a predator, he's an abuser, he's abused everybody, including myself. At the same time, I'm broke, I ain't dancing, my ankle swole, I need this nigga to work and pay child support to help me take care of these children, and these are my children's father. I can imagine that's a bit of a goddamn conundrum. That's a fucked up position to be in. That's a fucked up position to be in, because on one end, as a mother, I can imagine you don't wanna, even if it's the facts, you still want to be careful as a mother, because you know your children love this man and gonna love him anyway. That's why I didn't really bother to judge Andrea in this situation. I feel like with her being an abused woman herself, with her also being the mother of his kids, I feel like her confusion was to be expected. Not knowing how to really approach this, all the mood swings, throwing him on the bus, then trying to rescue him all at the same time. That's what a rock and a hard place looks the fuck like. That is what it looks like. Rita says, Miss Trisha, we moving on, Mom. I'm going more so in the black community content and things that they not telling us on the news, baby. Come on, Rita. Yes, God, honey. The news that we can use, honey. It's so much going on out here. Miss Baby says Aaliyah's uncle and mother will be dragged into it, and that would be interesting. He was preying on young girls before Aaliyah. Her uncle delivered her to the big bad wolf. Baby, this is some demonic shit. People should go and watch both parts of the Netflix series with the victims. Abso-damn-darn-lutely, okay? Rita says, right 100%. Naya says, I came late, but hey, what's going on, Naya? We're just talking about this Kelly verdict. Everybody is feeling good about it. It's a lot going on, but R. Kelly ass going down. You know, if ands or buts about it. I mean, his fate is practically sealed. And to be honest, like, I want to see all the goddamn Kellys, not just the famous R. Kellys. I want to see the R. Kellys that live right in our families also have to answer for the crimes that they've committed against their own bloodline. Okay. As a black community, we need to use what's going on with R. Kelly to also make us dispassionate about pushing for some accountability for those pedo ass uncles in the family and those pedo ass men in the family. Okay, so let's not act like a bunch of R. Kellys ain't showing up to Thanksgiving. Okay, some of y'all gonna be sitting right across from that infamous uncle, from that infamous grandfather this Christmas. Okay? So, and we need to be pursuing justice against those motherfuckers the same way that we want to see justice brought to these young girls and young boys as it relates to Mrs. Kelly. Good point about Andrea rocking a hard place. Absolutely. Let me see here. Hold on. Tina says, my high school classmate worked for him. He is quiet as a church mouse. The courts need to question him too. Who Miss Tina? I'm gonna have to go back up. I feel like she doing what she got to do as well, Conscious. I really do. Yeah. I do too. You know what I'm saying? She's trying to keep the bills on. You know, it's a lot to deal with. But Andrea, baby, your husband is fucked up. Yes, that's your baby daddy. Yes, your children love their goddamn father and all. But at the end of the day, boo, if you got to go push the cash register at the 7-Eleven, girl, and sell me a 2-liter soda, girl, just to keep the lights on, you got to do what you got to do, honey. Okay, you need a check to live a luxury life. It's not enough to be trying to pull R. Kelly ass off the cross, baby. You can't play down his conviction just for the sake of him being out here making money that allows you to live like a Hollywood pageant queen. You know, at some point, and you know, Mrs. Kelly is gonna have to question her sense of morality. You know, your husband and your baby father is a fucking monster. But you know, on some human to human shit, I get it. You know, because she probably trying to shield her goddamn kids from this. It's like, how do you explain that to your children? You know, to Andrea's plight, how do you explain that? And you know, how do you sit down with your daughters, with your sons, and talk to them about something this fucking extreme? How do you find some way? I mean, like, I don't even know how you would approach this as a parent. I don't even know. That's why I ain't even put my lips on Andrea. I'm like, girl, I can only imagine. So, you know, I watched from afar. I watch, you know, her pendulum swinging from left to right. I watch her going in and out. But, you know, when I thought about what her position must be like, I was like, child, maybe all of our goddamn pendulums would be swinging left and goddamn right if we were in her position. What's going on, Shirley? Hey, love. We have no choice at this point. Absolutely. Pamela. Hold on, let me see, because these comments moving fast as hell. Latrina says he couldn't write or read, but he knew right absolutely from wrong. So I can't know. It's no excuses. None at all. Pamela says one man testified that Rob would give him a one-word note when Andrea was going to be in the studio, and he would literally run to make sure all the girls were hidden. She was a victim too. I believe that. I believe Andrea was a victim. I believe it was a victim. You know, doing interviews and telling your story to the public, it can be very, if you don't get that shit right, child, you know, the public will tear your ass up because the public is looking for any inconsistency. So if you don't come to the public square with your shit together, social media and media in general can be rough if you ain't clear and if you ain't cohesive in your communications, baby, because media, including social media, is ready to tear the shit up. Ready to tear the shit up. So when she kept fluctuating and shit, you know, it created all the backlash that her ass got. Andrea is a talented dancer in her own right. She has her own gifts and talents. I don't believe she would have starved. She wouldn't, but a lot of times, a lot of these women are used to a certain lifestyle, and I'm sure that Kelly brings in bigger checks than Andrea. And those bigger checks afford more comfortable living for her. And this is why a lot of courts will grant a wife that alimony, etc. Because once you get acquainted to a certain lifestyle, mentally adapting to anything less can be fucking severe. So she's trying to maintain her maintaining, but at the end of the day, that can't be at the expense of leaving this man out here to prey on young men and women. It just can't be that way. Kamisha says, I'm sorry, y'all, I disagree about his wife. She know more than what she wanted to say, but I get it. You know, I think she knew something. I think she knew R. Kelly was fucked up. I think she knew that, like, obviously something was wrong. Obviously, no woman is being locked up, and no woman is being beaten, and no woman is being kept afar from her man's affair without assuming that the nigga is obviously up to no good. Now, I don't think she could put her finger on it. You know, I'm not sure if she ever suspected that it was this. Maybe she thought it was just other women. Maybe she thought that, you know, probably he had other mistresses. That's why he didn't want her around like that. And you know, why he was only allowing her into spaces under certain conditions and blah, 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 blah. But I'm not sure if I don't, you know, I don't, I mean, and then it's like, this was going on in the 90s. So it's just like, this wouldn't have been your first thought either. Like, who just assumes that a grown-ass man is being a sexual deviant with underage girls and boys on top of that? It's just like, that probably would be the furthest assumption from your damn brain, you know? Like, the farthest. But what I would like to know is what the fuck Andrea thought when I goddamn sex tape came out of Andrea, I mean not of Andrea, but of R. Kelly urinating on a young girl. Cause bitch, at that point now, it's like, bitch, you got to know that you 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 know. And it's crazy also that that tape came out and R. Kelly got to thrive for 20 more years after that. It's crazy that even though that level of receipt was there, that R. Kelly got to thrive for another 20 years before this would even happen. That this man pretty much played in the public's face, played in prosecutors' face, played in the criminal justice face boldly. But like all fools, eventually you fall on your own damn sword. So that level of tenacity and arrogance will get you caught up every fucking time. You might not get dealt with today. You might not get dealt with tomorrow. You might be here for another 10 years with the fuck shit. But what the R. Kellys and the Weinsteins and the Epsteins prove is that your day in hell, bitch, is coming. It's coming. So to all these people who be with the fuck shit, feeling good and thinking that they got some type of goddamn immunity because they get to live to see another day, it's going to be a day where your ass going to get to look up and stand before a judge before your motherfucking behavior and actions as well. Or even worse. Naya says, I seen those uncles too. They're always talking about how you grown so big and you look just like your mother, and then they proceed to grab you. Oh, do not even disgust me, Naya, okay? Because I would kick a motherfucker dead in a goddamn nut sacks, okay? A nigga will be transgendered once I get done with his goddamn genitalia with the freak shit. And that's what I tell all of my nieces and nephews, okay? You ever feel motherfucking uncomfortable by an adult? You ever get some weird energy? You ever just feel some sort of kind of way? Let somebody know. Even if nothing ain't even fucking happened. Even if it ain't been no behavior. Because let me tell you something. Kids are extremely psychic as well. They pick up on energy. When your child is screaming and crying and yelling and flaring and they don't want to go in the house. They don't want to go spend the weekend with Auntie and her husband. They don't want to go spend the weekend with them people. They don't want to go hang out with their cousin. Baby, you need to be paying attention to that goddamn distress. Especially now that we know what the fuck we know. Okay? I already told myself that when I have children, baby, my children ain't spending a night to no goddamn body's house, and ain't nobody children spending a night to mine either, because you ain't gonna Michael Jackson my ass, okay? We'll get a play date going, okay? They can come over, they can eat cake and cupcakes and shit, and then they gotta take their motherfucking ass home before sundown, okay? Ain't nobody about to have my kids slipping, bitch, and ain't nobody about to have me in no shit, bitch, because motherfuckers is crazy. Okay, and I don't trust no motherfucking body. Not with my kids, bitch. I don't trust nobody. They ain't going to grandma's house. They ain't going to grandpa's house. They ain't going to nobody's house. They ain't going to the pastor's house, baby. They ain't going camping with no celebrity for the weekend, girl. Anywhere that I can't be, bitch, they won't be either. Anywhere that we ain't night capping, they ain't night capping either. Ain't none of that, honey. Okay, you can spend the night, bitch, when you 16, girl, and I know that you know how to whip off in a whole ass if they get with the violating shit. When you old enough to kick ass and take names, when you old enough to discern when you being violated, that's when I will allow you, okay, to have that level of independence. But until then, bitch, my rules, my way. And that's on period. Oh, Tiptoe says, it's one thing to have an inappropriate attraction, but it's another level of willful misogyny and hatred to humiliate those girls with their own waist and all. That shit was just demonic. And it just goes to show you the level of depravity. But you know, R. Kelly's brother spilled the tea and said that R. Kelly was abused as well. That what he was abused by his sister, allegedly, ain't it? Am I not mistaken? Ain't the tea is R. Kelly was also sexually assaulted and molested by his sister? That's what I had heard, which makes a lot. Okay, correct, because most abusers have been abused themselves. Pedos, you know, don't typically just manifest out of nowhere. They are usually the result of some type of sexual abuse themselves or some type of extreme physical abuse. Yeah. And this is why we call it a generational curse. This is why we call it a generational pathology. That abuse is transferred and passed down. That abuse creates other hurt people who look for outlets and environments and spaces that they can express their mutation in. Because everything that's in you got to come out of you. Good, bad, or indifferent. Your condition is going to come out of you. For better and for worse. Yeah. And guess what? The sister probably was abused her damn self. And this is the tragedy. This is the tragedy of sexual assault and sexual abuse in families, in church systems, in religious systems, in social systems. It sucks. Because even the abusers themselves at one point in time were fucking victims. This is why none of us can afford to protect the abusers that you know personally. The ones right in your own family. The ones who your aunties tell you about when they talk about their childhood and who touched them. The ones that your uncles tell you about when they tell you who touched them and violate them. How many of us was hugging on people and in the presence of people, of grown people who had violated other grown people when they all were children? How many of us were left unprotected unbeknownst to us? That auntie and great auntie was sexually abusing nephews and shit, and the young men in the family, because the women be with the sexual abuse shit too. It ain't just the men. Okay? I know families where the great aunt, I know a situation right now where a great aunt used to, the mother would send the son to this great aunt's house for the summer. And this great aunt would tie the son up in the basement when he was a young man and molest him and rape him And the mother didn't even know. And then that uncle started molesting and fondling his own sisters. It's a curse that keeps on cursing. Whatever condition you in has to come up and out. Women can be predators too. Historically, all these female teachers who were found guilty of sexual assault and molestation and rape of their students. There was a case a few years ago of a female teacher who married her teenage student, who I think was legally old enough to be married, because I think it's 16 in some states, might be 15 with the consent of the parents. But she had been involved with this child, with this young man, since he was about 13. Yeah. But because of the way that patriarchy is set up in this country, we don't really demonize female predators the way that we demonize male predators, because men are socialized, rewarded, and encouraged to sow their wild oats as soon as possible. And the older man in a young man's life, even if he's nailing an adult woman, secretly encourage him and affirm him, while the women may know of the tea, the older women, but they think that that's just what men are supposed to do. So female predators oftentimes go unchecked and unaccounted for, while most of the emphasis is on the male child abusers. Shirley says, yes, that teacher got pregnant. Yep. Plenty of those stories done came out. Pregnant by a student, went to jail, and then married the boy when she got out. Fucking nuts. Nuts. Need to have her whole pussy sold clothes. If the male predators need to be castrated, the female predators need to have their goddamn pussy stitched closed. Pissed through a hole the size of a peephole. Have God bind that punani right on up with some surgical stitches. Breaking the silence, the culture says child brides are legal in most states. Sadly, legislation is shady as fuck. A lot of time moms will marry the kid off to cover up rape. Yep. It's fucked up. Rita says, this one right here is hitting different. When your children get abused, it changes your whole life. You don't trust nobody. This is a damn good conversation, needs to be had. This is real aspect. Absolutely. Child abuse is rampant. It's rampant. And the Black community, we for so long have not been able, we wasn't able to, the justice system wasn't initially created for us. It was created to supervise us and to penalize us. So Black people for decades and generations never had a place for their pain. They never had a place for justice. They never had a system in place that could account for the injustices that took place to them. And so this sweeping shit under the rug, this whole shit hiding domestic violence, hiding molestation, hiding child abuse, etc. It's the result of living in a nation where Black people did not have access to a criminal justice system that served them. And these generational systems or cycles and pathologies play out today, despite there being now what's erected as a criminal justice system that's supposed to be for the betterment of all Americans. But we also know that that's not completely goddamn true, even to this day. You know, and the biggest issues that Black families, I believe, have when it comes to pedos is, I don't even know. That may need to be a whole goddamn separate conversation, to be honest. I think, what is today, Monday? Because that is a conversation. That is a conversation that we need to have. That is a conversation that we need to have. Because one of the other big issues in Black families is that most people don't want to bring justice to Uncle Rufus and Uncle Clyde them, because they don't want to upset other relatives. They don't want to upset grandma. They don't want to deal with all of the fallout that's going to happen if you out the person who abused you in the family. You feel like you've done something wrong. It's interesting at the way we allow so-called love to justify our own suffering and silence. That this is how extreme we will go to protect other people. It's sometimes by not even pursuing any goddamn justice, so that nobody's mad at us. Nobody's mad. You don't want to be the talk of the family. You also don't want to be told you're a liar. You don't want to deal with the public shame, because pursuing justice involves now letting everybody know what happened to you and not having the emotional resources to deal with that shame and to deal with possibly being judged. You know, and imagine if you went and pursued charges against your male cousin who raped or molested you, and you love his mama. She's one of your favorite aunties. When people think about not outing their abuser, it's largely due to the fact that they know that they're going to disappoint some of their most beloved relatives. They know that their relationship between them and their favorite auntie is going to be, or their favorite uncle is going to be, forever altered, because you put their son or their daughter behind bars for something that they deserve to be behind bars for. But human beings are complex like that, because even though we know people deserve to be punished, sometimes when the crime ain't being committed to us, we would prefer shit just stay swept under the goddamn rug, because it means more for us to still have access to the person that we are raising, rather than have somebody put their ass behind bars for something that they did and deserve to be accounted for. That we'll be so egotistical to make it about us. Think about even in Jennifer Hughes' case. Her adopted family made her and pushed her to drop the charges against Kenneth Petty, allegedly, because they all lived in the same neighborhood and her adopted family knew Kenneth Petty's family. And it meant more for them to keep the social ecosystem stabilized in the community, because both these parties were close, rather than to stand beside and behind Jennifer in solidarity. Oh, that happens too, Atia. Sometimes you fall in love with your abuser. Yeah. Sometimes a Stockholm syndrome takes place. Yeah, you romanticize your abuser. Because abuse a lot of times is not just sexual. There's also usually a lot of psychological warfaring that's going on between the abuser and the abused. So not only is your body being raped, but your mind is being raped. Your emotions are being raped as well. That, yes, the grooming, the motherfucking grooming, to coerce you to get from behind the wheel of your own consciousness so that you could be controlled by your controller. Absolutely, Ganja Queen. The family wanted Jennifer to drop the charges. And guess what she did? She stood up in court and said she wanted to drop the charges. Not of her own doing. But when you're young, hell, even when you are a grown-ass adult, sometimes, unfortunately, there is power in numbers. And if enough people feel like we shouldn't do something, even if we have a conviction and feel we absolutely should, sometimes we allow the volume of people telling us to do the opposite. And depending on who those people are, if they hold important positions in our life, parents, mentors, pastors, etc., out of not being mentally strong enough and having an immature love for other people, we will allow them to talk us into suffering in silence. Tanya says, I have a friend whose brother-in-law molested several in the family, including her daughter. No one told till they were older. No one filed charges. Yep. Most abusers don't talk until they're older. I know that to be a fact. I have people in my life who have been abused and were not able to talk about their abuse until they were well into their 30s. And talk about what happened to them when they were 6, what happened to them when they were 7, and who did it. Yeah. Those people have spilt other people's tea, because in families, a lot of times, people were getting abused by the same person in the same house. So I also know people who are well into their 40s and 50s and 60s who still to this day will not admit nor vocalize their abuse. And that's because they're living in that shame. Hey, Toots, what's going on, love? They're living in that shame. Yeah. Kimberly Black says peer pressure is a real mind control behavior. Hey, CD. Hey, CTV. Hey, Kim. Absolutely. Peer pressure is real. And people think that peer pressure only applies to adults. I mean, applies to children. Nobody suffers at the hands of peer pressure more than the grown-ass fucking people. Because do you know what most grown-ass people are? Most grown-ass people are developmentally delayed and arrested children in adult bodies. Most adults are at best 16 years old in consciousness. Most adults themselves are 17 and 18 in consciousness at best. That's why most adults still, and we can even see it here on the internet, a clicky, clicked up, doing anything to fit in, doing anything to be liked, to be loved, kissing ass, sucking ass, trying to resolve high school and middle school childhood rejection. Most motherfucking grown ass people. What's going on, April? What's going on, love? Most grown ass motherfucking people are goddamn teenagers. Okay? They license plate reads 30. Not their license plate. They state ID reads 30, 40, 50 years fucking old. But their consciousness, okay, is 15, 19, 20 years of age. So that's why you still have a lot of adults not willing and showing any interest in taking a motherfucking stand and testifying to the truth and nothing but the goddamn truth. We in trouble, y'all. Particularly the black community. All communities in this goddamn country in trouble, but baby, we in trouble. Because, you know, my experience ain't been with no other goddamn community. The community who I've been intimate with is the black community, and we in trouble. Because we gonna have to, in order to heal, bitch, we gonna have to snatch this shit up from the rooty, baby. From the rooty, baby. We're gonna have to uproot Christianity. We're gonna have to uproot the respectability politics. We're gonna have to uproot the way that we have romanticized grandma and grandpa them and these older generations who might, and despite being deacons and deaconess and dressing very conservative, participated in a lot of sinister shit. Because the truth is, grandma and grandpa then was fake as fuck too. Okay? They looked the part and was coming back home hellraisers. They looked the part and was denying what their children were doing to the other children in the family. They looked the part and somebody was getting their ass whooped at home after Sunday service. All we've done as a black community for the most part is dress up our shit and tie a pretty little bow on it. And then we got the nerve to romanticize previous generations as if they had they shit together any more than the generations after them had they shit together. Grandma and them might not have had several baby daddies, but they had 13 motherfucking kids who they allowed to witness grandpa whip mama's ass in front of. They allowed men to be rolling motherfucking stones and have children all out of wedlock while still maintaining a marriage and a social image in place of your own personal integrity. Grandpa might have been a hard-working man who did bring the check home, but he was also bringing the fist home to mama's ass. He was also a goddamn terrorist at home. He was also cold and emotionless as well. He was also emotionally unfucking available and was a well-dressed, church-going, bring the check home to mama's ass type of man. But make no mistake about it, there was always fuck shit in the buttermilk. Now, baby, Iyanla is my spiritual mentor. And if there's one thing that she reiterates time and time again, if there's any commandment from her, that's worth going to the top of the pyramid, if there's nothing that you remember, there is one thing that I think is significant that she always preaches, and that is we will not be able to liberate ourselves emotionally, spiritually, and physically until we get into the practice of telling ourselves the ungodly, black, ashy ass truth about ourselves and about other motherfucking people. That you cannot be free without the ugly, ashy, melanated, black ass truth. Charge them all, Ty. Sam Johnson in here saying, free R. Kelly. He is free, Sam. He's free to return to his bunker to get butt fucked by 19-bit dick niggas with cornrows going straight to the back of the head. He is free. He's free to be left hollering 3 cell blocks down away from the prison guards who gonna allow 40 to 30 minutes of ass rape to be endured before they intervene. He is free. He's free to go get his pussy hole stitched up after enduring what he made these young folk endure in the medical ward of the prison. He is free. You know what also he's free to do? Get on his motherfucking knees and repent before the Most High before he die and bust hell completely wide the fuck open. You know what else he is free to do? He's free to pick up the motherfucking phone and call every goddamn person he abused and apologize privately and then return to court and stop with the fuck shit and admit and repent for his motherfucking behavior publicly. Oh, he free. He free to go down as guilty in the court of man's law, but to be redeemed in heavens. Because his life here, baby, it's a wrap. And guess who R. Kelly got to blame for R. Kelly's life being a wrap? Mr. R. Kelly. Now, to my earlier point, is there something to be said about abusers? Because most abusers, like in Kelly's case, have been abused themselves. Sure. That's the tragedy. And have we worked out a system yet to deal with these type of matters outside of punishing and prosecuting? No. But that's also what we can take away from the R. Kelly case, from the Epstein case, is we need to figure out how the fuck we gonna bring justice to people who have been victimized as well and then become the perpetrators themselves. Because I feel like what leads to the perpetrating is the silence. And some people don't have it in them to turn that abuse inward. Instead, they direct that abuse outward and abuse others. And that's some heavy and deep shit to deal with. It is. But that's what a progressive ass society looks like. R. Kelly could have made different choices. But you know what? I even cringe when I say that. And I'm going to be honest and tell you why I cringe. Because I was just saying this on a Yes God Roundtable yesterday. That it's hard to even talk about Black people and therapy because we just don't have a relationship to therapy. The Black community substituted Jesus and the church for everything that could have instead been offered by psychotherapy, that instead could have been offered by counseling. Charles, he was molested by his sister. He was molested by his sister, and more than likely his sister was more than likely abused as well. R. Kelly's brother been spilling the beans about R. Kelly allegedly being bisexual, which explains the young boy, even though we know that pedophilia don't really have anything to do with sexual preference. Sexual abusers don't really give a fuck about whether the sex of the child is male or female. But R. Kelly brother been saying for years that he been hinting to R. Kelly being bisexual and that R. Kelly was abused. It even came up and out in the Surviving R. Kelly shit. And as Toots, as Poodle said, it's not a reason, but when we talk about people being violated in their formative years, maybe it is a reason. And that's exactly why our scientists need to get involved and continue to deal with what the fuck is pedophilia. What is it? How does it operate? How does sexual trauma in young people inform their experience and understanding of sex, of orientation, etc.? Because the way that your brain is wired and the way that your brain can become unwired due to trauma, because that's what trauma does, it disrupts the current design and pattern of the neurological system and structure in place and redesigns it according to your mental and emotional experience of that traumatic event. This is why we often call people monsters. He or she is a monster. He or she is a monster. Trauma can turn people into that. Trauma can turn people into maniacs. Trauma can turn people into sociopaths. Trauma can turn people into terrorists. You know? And my heart goes out to abusers who have been abused because it's fucked up. It's even more fucked up when you've been abused and then you're a part of a community that doesn't really recognize abuse, that doesn't really uphold therapy, instead religion. The whole thing is at the disadvantage of those who have been abused. They're at a disadvantage. Rhonda says, this is why mental health is so important. And this is why, as Black people, Mrs. Green, we got to talk about it. We got to talk more about mental health, the importance of Jesus and your therapist, the importance of Jesus and holistic health, holistic herbs, holistic medicines. You know, I know they got all type of pharmaceutical sorceress shit on the market. But my personal preference on the medical aspect is more in the holistic lane. You know, the Black community got a fucked up attitude due to the way that the church has conditioned Black people to think about Jesus, that if you need anything other than Jesus, that you are angering or betraying God. My attitude is Jesus can be in the therapy. Jesus can be in the counseling, in the counselor, in the journey of counseling. Christ is not a entity. God, the Spirit is the manifestation of all these things that drive us toward wellness, whether that's loving relationships, whether that's financial prosperity, whether that's wellness and health in our bodies, but that Christ represents everything that's well. Christ represents everything that stabilizes us as people. And for the church to make Christ about a church experience instead of a life experience, instead of a healing experience, instead of uh uh an existence experience, is to shortchange Christ profoundly. And that's what the original definition of sin is, to miss the goddamn bullseye. It's people right now praying to Jesus, and Jesus is telling their asses and it's returning the message of go to counseling. And people can't even take that feedback from the Holy Spirit because the church gets in the way and say, that's the devil's institution. You sitting here suffering as a believer with suicidal ideation, with chronic depression, with anxiety, with schizophrenia, so many things, because the church would rather tell you to bang your head to the tambourine and shout it out ya, sing it out ya, dance it out ya, let the pastor preach it out ya. But the only thing he preaching your ass out of is a tithe and an offering. The only thing he preaching you out of is 30% of your motherfucking income every month. Y'all better take y'all asses to therapy and get you a black ass therapist who understands your black ass nuance and a pale supremacist ass capitalistic nation. Get you a black ass therapist who understands the nuance in your intersection as a black woman in America, as a black man in America, as a black queer woman in America, as a black queer man in America. And couple and allow Christ and the Holy Ghost and therapy to cooperate with another. Allow them to validate one another. Okay, we can walk and chew gum at the same motherfucking time. Allow Christ to give you faith in your therapy that concludes your wellness, as Atia just said. So many child killers didn't take their mental health meds because of religious beliefs. Absolutely. There was a man last year who was suffering. His mental health was collapsing. He wasn't taking his meds. The man was talking to himself on the job. It seemed like he worked around a lot of black people because a lot of people in the news coverage who spoke about the incident were black. They witnessed this man talking to himself, kind of being a little office rocker. Nobody thought much about it, and guess what that man did one day? That man came into the lunchroom of the building he worked in and shot a man in cold blood in the break room. Blew his fucking head off. And when police arrived and arrested him and asked him why he did it, he said it was because he just got a feeling about the man who he killed in cold blood. And my wig was blown back at the fact that all these black men on this work site witnessed this man speaking to himself, talking to himself before this ever even culminated in cold-blooded murder. But at the same time, I wasn't even shook. You know why? Because black people are not conditioned to recognize mental health. Most of us, once again, have uncles who are not mentally well, who live upstairs. All of us have relatives who nobody ain't getting no help from. You shove them in a room somewhere. You feed them every day. They're not on any medication. Not too much is really thought about it. And the family just accepts this. We gotta uproot this whole shit. Everything is wrong. When you black and in America, everything is motherfucking wrong. All this shit gotta come up. All this shit gotta be snatched up. We're fucking up our families. We're fucking up our communities. We are forsaking our children. We're walking right into the devil's goddamn snare. Raven says we attribute mental health with demons. Not everything is demonic. Some folks have legitimate actual problems that cannot be prayed and danced away. And guess what? When that relative goes Columbine and Postal, motherfuckers is gonna want to act like they ain't had nothing to do with nothing. Sickening. You leave the problem untreated, unacknowledged, and then when it hits the fan, want no burden of responsibility. It's unfortunate because we're not designed to take mental health seriously. Once again, the church was our therapist. The church was our Dr. Phil. The church was our Prozac. The church was our antidepressant. The church was our psychotherapy. The church. Black people also do the minding their own business thing. Yep. As somebody said earlier, snitches get stitches. It ain't got nothing to do with us. That community effort ain't there no more. It wasn't always like that with black people. Everything is wrong. Billy PB Parent says it all started from evil demons who takes possession of people because it is a curse, but it is from spirit spouses. It is on YouTube. Just look it up. I don't really know what that means, Billy. I believe all issues have spiritual meaning, but something can just be wrong with the hardware. The brain is hardware. If you bang your head too hard, you drop a baby on his head, traumatic incident, birth defects, etc. Sometimes shit is just wrong with the fucking hardware. And depending on what type of wrong it is, can lead to some very dangerous behavior. The church allowed all these rows, yet was full of hypocrites and no real degrees. None. Ms. Piper says, yes, we have been fooled in so many ways for centuries and decades. We didn't have the blueprint laid out from us. We didn't. That's why black people gotta start. We gotta start over. I'm talking about completely over. We gotta introduce ourselves to the world all over again. We gotta divorce what our parents told us, divorce the way white supremacy informed us. We have to divorce all of that shit. Divorce it. We got to start anew, baby. When I went on my pilgrimage, baby, about 15 years ago, when I divorced and decided to look at the world and to be in the world outside of the way I had been informed by what was provided to me by my community, by my family, by the church, etc., man, I have never looked back since. You have to give yourself the opportunity to repent, which is just to wake up again. To wake up on another side of the bed and to see what everything else looks like. Like, okay, I know what they told me. I've lived what they told me, but that's not the only thing that's there. That's not the only living available. Those are not the only paths in existence. And give yourself permission to just pursue life and liberty and justice. Just to give yourself permission to do that. It's a lot of shedding to be done. Transformation, yeah. And transformation ain't for the faint of heart. As Harriet Tubman said, freedom ain't for no punk ass bitch. Freedom ain't for no sissy ass motherfucker. Freedom ain't for the faint of heart. Freedom is for the brave of heart. Freedom comes with sacrifice. Freedom and liberation comes with loss. It ain't rosy and romantic. It's ugly, it's grueling, but in the end, it was the only vehicle to your promised land. You cannot be free without enduring and transcending fear and the unfamiliar. You got to do it. If you ain't afraid, it means that you too comfortable. If you ain't afraid, if you ain't shook, it means that you ain't challenging yourself to the depth and the degree in which you believe you are. You got to learn outside of the fence. They done told you to stay within these parameters. You need to give yourself permission to cross the motherfucking line. I kept giving myself permission to cross the line again and again and again and again and again and again and again. I needed to know for myself. I needed to see for myself. I needed to experience for myself. I needed to be for myself. For myself, I needed that. Every human being does. The people who gave you the blueprint that you've been living that ain't serving you, they meant well. But meaning well don't make a motherfucker right. You meant well and you're wrong as hell. You meant well and you led me astray as hell. Okay? The black church meant well, wrong as hell. Respectability politics, they served what they needed to serve. They were created for the purposes in which they were created for. But now they do more disservice than anything else. We got to undo it. We got to divorce this current design altogether and get familiar with the unfamiliar. And get close to what feels far away from you. It's the only way out. And it's the only way in. What's going on, Vetta? So, on that note, girl, R. Kelly, Miss Ma'am, I hope you into big penitentiary dick, baby. Because you ain't going to be slanging it. But you are going to be banging it, baby. Okay? Ass clapping sessions for you every day and every night. Okay? And as that pussy gets blown open, I just hope that it promotes empathy. And I hope that you surrender to the rape, because it's about the only real way that you can make it up. to these people. It's just to surrender and endure it. Surrender. Don't even put up a fight. Christ says, if you so harm one of these little ones, it is better for you to put a stone, a brick, a noose, whatever the hell he said, around your neck and to drown yourself to the bottom of the sea, than it will be to endure the judgment and wrath of God. Baby, now Christ was for all that love shit, baby. But when it came to certain shit, when it came to one thing, baby, he said, look, in this case, taking yourself out is the judgment of God. That's the only redemptive quality. It's for you to suffer your damn self. It's for you to end your own damn self. Because to believe that you deserve any lick of life and any luxury of life after you've perpetrated this level of abuse upon people who could not even defend themselves from you, it's just an act of narcissism that absolutely deserves all 10 plagues. That absolutely deserves the full manifestation of Noah's flood. That absolutely deserves the full execution of God's foot on your motherfucking neck. So it is better that you execute the utmost judgment on your own damn self. And maybe then, and only then, will God show a lick of mercy to you on the other side. Justice is being served. I believe we have all full confidence that the criminal justice system is going to do its job, finally. And once again, I encourage Black families to not just stand in joy for what R. Kelly is enduring, but to use this to stand up to the R. Kellys in your own family as well. Because this ain't just about R. Kelly. This is about a bigger systemic issue in the Black community. And we need to use R. Kelly to get up off our asses and to clean our families up. And to address the motherfucking elephants that's been in the room for too many generations. The elephant that's been in the room for too many decades. The elephant that's been in the motherfucking room and don't give a damn who the fuck it offends and who the fuck it upsets and who the fuck it inconveniences. Yep, that's exactly why I pulled it, Pamela. You're absolutely right. Marcette, be the solution. As better said, all shall pay. Yep, a millstone around your neck. That's it, Jace. And shout out to all the content creators in the building. You guys subscribe to Rita Running Shit. Subscribe to April Walker. Subscribe to Jace Harnage, honey. Okay, to all the content creators in the building, you guys make sure to support these content creators, baby, out here providing entertainment, information, truth and justice for y'all. Okay, shout out to all content creators and thank y'all for being here. We will further this discussion. I'm gonna try to set something up this week to kind of come behind this commentary, because I think we need to really keep these conversations up and keep these conversations alive. Maybe have some of you guys come up and talk about y'all experiences. Some of y'all who want to share your stories of being abused, being a part of Black families and undergoing abuse. Some of y'all have already shared your stories in the comment section. I would love for you guys to come up and talk your experience. It could lead to inspiration. It could lead to awareness. It could lead to people paying more closer attention to their children. It could lead to people being more empathetic when it comes to the relatives who come forward to them about these experiences. You know, a testimony is powerful. Powerful. Suicide ain't a sin when Jesus ordained it. Whatever Jesus said is a sin, okay? I don't know about y'all, but look, when it comes to the Bible, the only thing I personally adhere to is the red writing. I really don't bother having much to do with anything and everything else, okay? I don't follow Paul. He didn't die on no cross for me. I don't follow Moses. I don't follow any of those folk, okay? I read it, I understand it, I get it, but who I absolutely whose truth and wisdom I absolutely adhere to and will be taken to the grave is the actual words of Yahshua. If you have abused any of these little ones, it ain't suicide, it's justice. You don't deserve the luxury of breathing and being and existing when you have perpetrated and been cancerous to people who won't have, who more than likely won't even have the resources to recover, especially when abuse is experienced at a certain age. See, once you get through those formative years and something happens, there are better odds of you recuperating and recalibrating. But the human psyche is so sensitive and so fragile when you are an adolescent, when your mind isn't fully developed, and then you experience sexual trauma. He need to be held accountable for his misuse of power versus pleasure. Okay, so y'all gonna make me pull up the verse because I don't put no words in Jesus's mouth, honey. Christ ain't talking about the acceptance of no children. He's talking about the perpetrators and the abusers upon those who are pure and innocent of heart. Hold on, give me a second. Matthew 18:6. The book of Matthew is very interesting. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. In some translations, it says it would be better for it would be better for them themselves to place a large millstone around their neck. Once again, blasphemous acts deserve for a extreme, explicit execution of justice. There are probably many acts, in fact, that really deserve a millstone to be placed around a motherfucker's neck. Hell, in America, we do have the goddamn death penalty. Some people are for the death penalty, some people are not. I don't know whether I'm for the death penalty or not. But what I do know is that certain behaviors are so egregious and evil and wicked that I don't oppose people afflicting justice upon themselves by ending their own fucking life. I don't. I think that that's the least that you can do when you know that you're a monster. And we ain't talking about isolated incidences, even though some of those are to the fucking extreme as well. But when you have been cancerous to whole collectives and groups of people, especially the innocent, especially those who could not have in any way, shape, or form asked, in any kind of way, shape, or form could have warranted, in any kind of way, shape, or form could have solicited the grotesque, gruesome behavior afflicted upon. That the least you could do is throw the trash out, it being yourself. That's justice. That's the only guarantee that you, in fact, will never be a threat to those who you have already victimized and or murdered, and you won't be a threat to any other existing young, old, male or female, adult or adolescent persons. I ain't mad at that shit. It was all up and through him. The Pied Piper, producing Aaliyah's album, Age Ain't Nothing But a Number. You know, R. Kelly knew. There were things that came out in trial where R. Kelly allegedly confessed and told one victim that he believes that he was entitled to have sex with young women because of his level of talent, because of how valuable he was to music, to society, that practically he felt he should have been given a King Midas touch. That because his music meant so much and his contribution and talent was so desired that he should have been given a green light to feed himself and to gratify himself and to pleasure himself and to have whatever it was that he so desired. I mean, it's the narcissism for me. It's the grandiose narcissism for me. Yeah. That's why the scriptures say that everything that's in the dark comes to the light. People think that that verse is about like explicit confession. What that scripture is also talking about is truth comes out in subliminal ways. Because once again, you really can't hide your condition. Now, most people might not be trained to see the subtle hints of who a person is. But if you look close enough and you got a trained ass eye, you can tell who's who. You can tell who's who. You know who's who. Yeah. Ain't nobody gonna miss R. Kelly if he was to initiate his own visit to God. Just like ain't nobody miss Epstein ass. We got the news and motherfuckers threw a party. You know, a man who abused his wealth, his privilege, his power, and had nothing better else to do but to be evil. I guess that's all that's left to do. Maybe this is why the word says that power corrupts, and that what does it profit a man to gain the world and to lose his soul? And what's interesting about that verse is that R. Kelly cited that verse in his music video for "I Wish," and I believe it was supposed to be recited by his mother's voice. no man or woman, I'm not going to say no man or woman, most men and women are not righteous enough to be righteous with power. Power should not be in the hands of most people who possess it. Power, more than likely, should be for the appointed. Most people are egoic, self-obsessed, egotistical, and of course, power is going to be profoundly abused. All of his songs spoke his truth. What's in the dark comes to the light. Period. You can't hide your condition. Motherfuckers might not be trained to see it, but I don't mean that it ain't there. You just ain't trained to see the signs. So you don't know that it's a sign. You don't know, but a motherfucker is giving themselves away every day. Every day. And it's going unnoticed to the untrained eye. And most people have an untrained eye, and the truth is glaring right in your motherfucking face. That's why we always say we look back in retrospect. Somehow we never see the shit when the shit was in plain sight until after the fact. Now you're looking back in retrospect and realizing, oh my goodness, the signs was all there all around you the whole goddamn time. It's time to stop looking in retrospect and start paying attention now, baby. Start paying attention now. Where's my damn charger? I don't know where to go. This damn chair squeaking and shit. I don't know where my goddamn charger at. But I got to go, you guys. This was good damn news. That's damn right. True. He had it pepperish, yep, throughout his whole career. Period. Yep. It was always there. Oz says, so we don't always recognize. Nope. Sure don't. We don't, Oz. Ms. Piper says he was most likely the wolf in sheep's clothing. Now, lovely Kinky Koi said, now he know his plan is not God's plan. But you know what? R. Kelly, narcissistic ass, is somewhere still believing that he's innocent. That's the sickness. That's the sickness. That's the narcissism. He'll never be able to admit that he's wrong. And that's why he'll always be a problem. And that's why that Bible verse is set the way it's set up. Because motherfuckers are so twisted and don't want to admit to being the problem. And if you can't admit to being a problem, it means that you plan on continuing to be a problem. Because you can't change what you won't repent for. And if you a problem, unwilling to see yourself as a problem, you're going to continue to be a goddamn problem. That's a problem. That's a goddamn problem. Benita says, self-evaluation and self-awareness will save you and others. Yeah. If the mind can be saved, sometimes the soul is so corroded that it's in a reprobate state. It's in suspended animation. It just depends on the condition of the soul. And some people's souls are profoundly unrepaired. And the only salvation is in death. The only salvation is through death. The only salvation is through extreme isolation. Period. He played on God, the unlaid to people himself. Castrate him. He knows he's guilty, but he feels entitled. Yep. It still does. That's why he's fighting for his freedom. The fact that R. Kelly is fighting for his freedom proves that he's sick and he's far gone. Because he has the nerve to fight for his freedom rather than to accept whatever consequences come of the courts. He still cannot empathize. Even as he sits in court listening to all 50 victims. Even as they walk him through his own abuse. Even as they walk him through his own grotesque, maniacal ass behavior, this man has the audacity to have a legal team who is fighting for him to be right and for him to be free. That nigga is sick as hell. He's done. He's done. It's above me now. It's above me now, baby. The courts on that ass. It's above me now. It's above me now. Above me now. On that note, I will talk to you guys soon. I'm going to go shower, eat, lay my ass down. This was a great dialogue. Share, 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 share. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new here. I love you all, and I will talk to you guys later.